অখিল ভারত বিবেকানন্দ যুব মহামন্ডল আয়োজিত ৫১তম বার্ষিক সর্বভারতীয় যুব শিক্ষণ শিবিরের আজ তৃতীয় সন্ধ্যায় উপস্থিত সবাইকে স্বাগত জানাই। আজ এই সন্ধ্যায় আমাদের মধ্যে উপস্থিত আছেন কলকাতা অদ্বৈত আশ্রমের পূজনীয় শ্রীমৎ স্বামী শুদ্ধিদানন্দজি মহারাজ। পূজনীয় মহারাজ জাতীয় সংহতি ও স্বামী বিবেকানন্দ এই বিষয়ে ইংরেজিতে ভাষণ দেবেন।
Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Surai Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swami Nitapahari. My namaskars and regards to all of you, my dear sisters and brothers, and especially to the organizers of this wonderful meeting organized by Akhil Bharatiya Yuva Mahamandal. I thank all of you, especially the organizers, for having given me an opportunity to come here and share my ideas on this wonderful subject, a very important and significant subject, the subject of national integration. This is a very timely subject, a subject which has been bothering India since its independence, and even before that. As I don't have much time, I have just been given some 40-45 minutes, so without wasting much time, I would like to straight away go into the core of this issue. When I think about national integration, the first thing which comes to my mind is that you all know, you all have gone through the history of modern India. When the British Crown left India in 1947, we all know they partitioned India into two. India was gone, and along with that, Pakistan also was born. And that was not the end of the story actually. When the English left India, they left a large portion of the Indian state, 565 princely states. And these 565 princely states, they were given the freedom to either join with India or join with Pakistan or to remain independent. This was the very clever ploy of the English people to somehow to see to that India remains an absolutely fragmented state and country. They didn't want India to be united because a united India would be a very strong force. They knew this very well. So it was their plan to see that this entire Indian subcontinent is left in an absolutely fragmented state. And that is what they did. India was partitioned into India and Pakistan, and there were 565 princely states who were given the freedom to either join India or Pakistan or remain independent. Now, from this absolutely fragmented state in which the English left India, the one man who was the man of that hour, he stood up. He was a man of absolute business, shrewd business acumen, a man with a foresight, a vision and a mission and a strong determination. That man, his name was Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, a person, due to his indefatigable energy and determination, he succeeded in integrating all these 565 princely states into the present-day Indian map which we are seeing. If that had not been the case, perhaps we would not have got this map today, this political map which we are seeing. This would not have been possible. And this man was a man who was deeply rooted in Indian culture, and he had a deep knowledge of India's cultural and civilizational roots. So, this is one of the great contributions made by this one man, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, because of whom all these 565 princely states were made to join the Indian Union, and that is how finally the Republic of India was born in 1950 through a political process. When we gave to ourselves the Constitution of India, the modern state, the Republic of India, was born. So this was the integration of India brought about in the modern times through a political process. It was a great thing. Now several questions rise after this. Since this political birth of India in 1950, from when onwards we became the Republic of India, since then there is another kind of integration which we have yet to accomplish, and that is a big challenge for India of today, and it will also remain for a few decades to come, and much depends upon the youth of this country. What I mean to say is that politically we got this integrated India, the one India which we have before us. But psychologically and ideologically, still this integration, the job of integration is still incomplete. Somewhere we have solidly divisive forces working in the country even today. And it is not surprising, because India is a country which has always been described as a country of unity and diversity. The kind of diversity we find in this country is something which we don't have to deliberate upon. It is very clear. The kind of diversity which we see in this country, anybody who comes in touch with this kind of a diversity is simply left dazed and mesmerized. You can think about the diversity. We have, just see, today in India we have 22 official languages and more than 1,000 dialects. We have 29 states, 7 Union territories, and most of these states have been formed on the basis of language. For the Tamil people, there is a Tamil Nadu. For the Bengalis, there is Bengal. For the Marathis, there is Maharashtra. For the Gujaratis, there is Gujarat. All these states have been formed on the basis of language. If you just see, if you all know the way the nations were born in Europe, they were all born on the basis of language. For example, French people, one group of people speaking one language, they became France. The Germans, one group of people speaking one language, they became one country, Germany. Similarly, English, Italians, Spanish, all of them, even Russia, Japan, all these nations have been born out of something common which holds them together. Now there is a big question about India. India is a very perplexing country because of the kind of diversity which characterizes it. We have more than 1,000 languages here, 22 official languages. In this case, what is that common thing which actually unites us? Today, politically, we have become united by giving a constitution to us. This is something which is extrinsic, which has been done from outside. It is something which comes from above. I ask this question, what is that thing which unites us or integrates us from within? Is there anything which actually holds India together from within? Through a political process in which we gave to ourselves a constitution in 1950, we became so-called the Indian nation, the Republic of India. That's very fine. That's something which we have given to us from above. It is something external. My question is, do we have something intrinsic, something integral, something from within which actually unites us? Now this is a big question, and if we get an answer to this, many of the problems which we are facing today, as far as India's integrity is concerned, that will get solved. Now recently, just in the beginning of this month, I have been to Tamil Nadu in our Ramakrishna Mission, Coimbatore, and there in that center, just like this very gathering, we had a youth convention there, a convention for 3 days, and nearly around 1,000 students, both boys and girls, they participated. It was a 3 days residential camp, many programs, cultural programs, and seminars and talks, all these things were there. So in one of those sessions, in which I had to address the students, I asked the students one question. It was something which related to Bharatiya Sanskriti, Indian culture. So I asked this question to the students that how do we describe India? So a very smart and intelligent girl stood up and said, Swamiji, India means unity in diversity. What a wonderful answer it is, because we have been taught, right from our school days, we have been taught that India is best described as unity in diversity. Such diversity we don't find anywhere in the planet. Such beautiful diversity. Even the biodiversity, the rich biodiversity which we have, even that is not seen in any country. Though India is best described as unity in diversity, it's fine. So this answer takes us to the next question, that diversity we all know, very fine. We don't have to deliberate upon the diversity that we see in this country. But what is that thing which actually unifies us? Do we know that? So when this question was asked, what is the unifying factor which holds us, this 1.25 billion people, which holds us 1.25 billion people into one nation? What is that unifying factor? So when this question was asked, again another girl stood up and said, Swamiji, the unifying factor is the fact that we are all Indians. We are Indians, and this is the fact which unites us. Okay, fine. It's a good thing. It's a good answer. Yes, it's a fact that we are Indians. Now the next question comes. What is the basis of India's nationhood? What is that goes into the making of Indian nation? See, today we are discussing the subject of national integration. What integrates a group of people into a nation? That is the big question. So the question was, what is the basis of Indian nation? So when this question was put forward, there was a silence all over. Nobody could answer. So then I told them, you see, we have two bases of India's nation. The one basis is the constitution which gave to us. It's true. It is this constitution of India today which unites all of us together into a nation. This constitution is equally applicable to every citizen of this country. Is it not? It is this Constitution of India to which we all have to abide by. There is no question of any alternative to it. So our nationhood today stands on this Constitution which we have given to ourselves. And that is the one thing which is commonly applicable to every member of this country. But again, as I said in the beginning, this is something we have given to us from above through a political process. This is the basis of India's political nation. My question is, was India not a nation before it became a Republic of India in 1950? In 1950, the political India was gone. But what about India before that? Was it not a nation? The answer to this question is wonderful. India has always been one unit, one nation, right from the beginning of the history. And it was always known by the name Bharat, Bharatvarsha. Now the question comes, in 1950 we became a nation through a political process. Before that also it was a nation, but at that time there was no political process involved in that. In that case, what was that which went into the making of Indian nation? Without any political process, without any legislature, without any constitution from above. There was something which was from within, holding this entire flock of people living in this Indian subcontinent as one people, as one unit. What was that unifying force? If we understand that, then we will understand why Swami Vivekananda stresses that point so adamantly and strongly. So what was that one thing which actually unified the people of India into one nation? That whole story, or the answer to that question, is squeezed in this beautiful word called Bharat. What does this term Bharat mean? Friends, I want all of you to pay attention to this point. The term Bharat is a beautiful term. This term Bharat has got two parts. One is Bha and the other is Rata. In Sanskrit, it means, Rata means to be engrossed. Rata means to be engrossed. If I say somebody is Yoga Rata, it means that person, he or she, is engrossed in yoga. If I say somebody is Karma Rata, that means he or she is engrossed in karma. If I say somebody is Bhoga Rata, that means he or she is engrossed in bhoga, enjoyment. If I say somebody is Krida Rata, that means he or she is engrossed in Krida, sports. If I say somebody is Bharata, what does it mean? It means he or she is engrossed in Bha. Now what does Bha mean? Bha in Sanskrit means that which is Bhaswar or Bhasaman, that which is radiant. Bha means that which is radiant. And what is radiant? In this entire creation, there is only one thing which is actually radiant, and that is the light of consciousness. This Bha refers to the light of consciousness, which is the true nature of every human being, which is also the basis of this creation which we are seeing. It is in that radiant light we are experiencing this entire universe. So what is the meaning of Bharata? Bharata refers to that geographical area on this planet where for ages people have been engrossed, people have been rata in discovering and experiencing Bha, the light of consciousness within. This is the meaning of the term Bharat. This one term Bharat tells us the whole story about who we are, what is our identity. We don't have to look here and there about who we are as a group of people. So what united this entire Indian subcontinent was this spiritual pursuit. This spiritual pursuit to discover and experience the light of consciousness within is the one pursuit which actually united this entire Indian subcontinent into one nation with the name Bharata. Now this is the basis of Indian nationhood. This is the integral or the intrinsic basis of India's nationhood. Constitution is something which is extrinsic, and an integration which is forged from outside is always fragile. It is always vulnerable to the different forces which can try to break it. But that which comes from within, just like this body has got its own immune system, the immune system works from within. Similarly, in our country, if we understand the true basis of our nationhood as spirituality, and if we strengthen that basis, our unity will be unshakable and unbreakable. Today we are talking about national integration. Now, let us come to what Swami Vivekananda says. Swami Vivekananda again and again stresses this point. He says the one common ground that we have is our sacred tradition, our religion, our spirituality. If you read complete works of Swami Vivekananda properly, you will see that Swami Vivekananda stresses this point again and again. It is the one recurring theme which we will find in throughout his complete works. Spirituality. Spirituality and religion. Vivekananda says the one common ground that we have is our sacred tradition, our religion, our spirituality. It is on the basis of this common ground alone the future of India can be built. He says that this common ground of religion and spirituality is the first and the foremost condition for building a great future of India. And he says that there has to be the recognition of one religion, the spirituality, throughout the length and breadth of this land. Just note his words. He says there has to be a recognition of this spirituality throughout the length and breadth of this land. Why is he saying that? It is this thing alone which actually unifies us into one nation. My dear sisters and brothers, I ask you one question. Tell me, what is the common factor between a person who stays in Tamil Nadu and a person who stays in Rajasthan? Just tell me, what is common about them? Do they speak the same language? Do they have the same food habit? Do they have the same skin color? Do they have the same lifestyle? What is the common thing between a person who lives in Tamil Nadu and a person who lives in Rajasthan? What is the common factor between a person who is living in Bengal and a person who lives in Kerala? They speak totally different language. Their lifestyle, their customs, their traditions, everything is so divergent. And yet we say that we are Indians. What is that unifying factor which unites the people of Tamil Nadu with Rajasthan? Or what is that unifying feature which unites the people of Kerala with Kashmir or Bengal? What is that unifying principle which unites the people of Maharashtra with the people of Meghalaya? That one thing is spirituality. I'll give you one small example. Why Swami Vivekananda says this? See, if a Tamilian goes to a Shiva temple, what does he do? He will go there and he will pour water on the Shiva temple. If a Rajasthani goes to a Shiva temple, what does he do? He will also do the same thing. Both the Tamilian and the Rajasthani hold Kashi to be the most holiest place. Though they may be speaking totally different language, their language has got no connection at all. Their living style has got no connection at all. But they are connected by one common set of ideas. Both of them believe in Punarjanma. Both of them believe in moksha. Both of them understand that God is nameless and formless, and that one God can express itself in so many names and forms. Both of them believe in the authority of Gita, Gayatri and Ganga. Both of them believe that Ganga is the most sacred water body in this country. Now, people of these two so-called absolutely different states, they are governed by one common set of ideas. Here we have to note one very important point. That is, a nation is not merely a creation of the constitution. A nation is not just created by drawing the boundaries on a particular map or a paper. A nation comes into existence when a group of people are governed by one set of common ideas. People have to have something common which holds them together as a flock. If that common idea factor is not there, we may try to create a nation from above, but that integration will always remain fragile and vulnerable to disintegration. So, what is that one thing which unites this entire Indian subcontinent is that ancient spiritual philosophy given to us by the Vaidika Sanatana Dharma, which today is known as Hinduism. Hinduism means nothing but the ancient Vaidika Sanatana Dharma. And I have to again here tell you something which is very significant. Hinduism is very different from so-called other religions. It is not religion in the conventional sense at all. It was not a religion which was born in a certain time frame. It was not a religion which is born inside the framework of history, just like other religions, the Semitic religions which were born at a certain point of a time. Hinduism means the Vaidika Sanatana Dharma, which actually means the universal principles, certain universal principles which were discovered by spiritual scientists called rishis. They discovered certain universal principles which were equally applicable to all peoples of all times and of all places. That is what is universal, the Sanatana Dharma. Hinduism is that universal framework. Actually, Hinduism is not any religion like, say, Christianity or Islam, which was born in a certain point of time and which was founded by one person or which has got one particular book. We have got no founder. We have no one particular book. This Vaidika Sanatana Dharma is a way of life where we are taught to come in touch with that supreme reality which is inside us through any number of ways. It is that universal framework. Hinduism means that Vaidika Sanatana Dharma, that universal framework which holds all other religions within itself. And that is the reason why in India, because of that Vaidika Sanatana Dharma principle, all the religions came here from outside, yet they could live here in absolute peace and they could flourish here. The true secularism and pluralism which we are talking about today, it is so natural to the Hinduism and the Vaidika Sanatana Dharma because this is the only thing which teaches the world that truth is one. Sages call it by different names. Ekam Sat Vipra Bahudha Vadanti. One of the greatest teachings given to the world of all times. Truth is one. Sages call it by different names, and you can approach that truth by any path. All the paths take us to the same goal. This is the one teaching which even now the world has to learn. Even today the world has not learned this lesson, and that is why we have this kind of a communal tension. So what I want to place before you is this Hinduism or the Vaidika Sanatana Dharma is that universal framework into which all the religions can fit. And that has been the cultural and the civilizational framework of this entire Indian subcontinent. And that is what Vivekananda refers to as spirituality and religion. He says it is this spirituality, this universal spirituality which alone can unify us, integrate us. He says this is the only common ground that we have. Our sacred tradition, our spirituality, our religion. And it is on the basis of this common ground we have to build the future of India. There is no other way. There has to be a recognition of this spirituality throughout the length and breadth of this country if we want to integrate this nation. That is why Vivekananda says, my only ideal is to preach to the mankind with their divinity and how to manifest this divinity in every moment of my life. My only idea is to bring out the spiritual gems and make them popular throughout the length and breadth of this land. That's why Vivekananda, again, one place he says, therefore, unfold the banner of Advaita. Unfold the banner of Advaita. It is this Advaita alone which can make us have that universal love for everybody. What does this Advaita philosophy teach us? This Advaita philosophy teaches us that each one of us is divine, and this divinity can be experienced, and this divinity is the basis of this entire creation. So whether somebody is Muslim or whether somebody is Christian, it is the same divinity which is there inside each one of them. And it is this Advaita which can unite this country into one great nation. That's why, you see, Vivekananda had this one great dream. The dream of making a great India of the future, and for that he knew India has to become one, and this India can be made one only in and through religion and spirituality. There is no other word. There is no other way. And this term Bharat itself is so beautiful. Just imagine, Bharata means the people who are engrossed in the discovery of this light of consciousness within oneself. That one word tells us the whole story of who we are. We have existed as a nation from time immemorial. Not that we were born in 1950 when we became the Republic of India. Even before that, India has been a nation through the basis of spirituality and religion. And that spirituality is the spirituality of the Vaidika Sanatana Dharma. Now comes that Vivekananda says that now this is the one thing which we need to popularize among the people today. You know, in this Kali Yuga, the biggest karma that we can do is the karma of charity. Lord Vyasadeva says in the Mahabharata, the biggest karma today in the Kali Yuga is the karma of charity. Now this is not the age of doing great austerities and tapasya and all those things. The best karma that we can do, by which we can make the best for ourselves and for everybody, is the karma of charity, dhan. And there are 4 kinds of dhan. You can give food to somebody, that's fine. Or you can save somebody's life, that is also another dhan. Or you can give secular knowledge, that is also one kind of a dhan. And the highest charity or highest dhan is the spreading of spiritual knowledge. So Vivekananda in Complete Works, he very beautifully says, now our only job is to spread this idea of spirituality throughout the length and breadth of this country. Because it is this spirituality alone which can unify us into one nation. If this spirituality dies from India, Vivekananda says, within three generations, we shall become extinct. The very life force of India, this Bharat, is its spirituality and religion. It is this alone which holds us together as one nation. So in order to spread this idea, which he talks about, the charity, he says, what we need is men and women who are true patriots. See, today, India is 1.25 billion human beings or persons. We are not 1.25 billion citizens and patriots. That is the big problem. Today we want patriots. And you know who are patriots? Swami Vivekananda gives a beautiful definition. If I ask you, do you think all of you are patriots? If I say, if you think that you are patriots, you raise your hands. How many of you will raise your hands? Are you all patriots? Only few hands raising. Yeah, one by one it's coming. Why many of them are thinking that they are not patriots? At a large number, only few hands are coming up. It's surprising. You don't feel that you're patriots? You don't love your country? How is that? See, it takes some time to raise your hands. My dear brothers and sisters, I'll tell you what goes into the making of a patriot in the words of Vivekananda. See, we are talking about national integration, and national integration can be accomplished in and through true patriotism. And what goes into the true patriotism? Vivekananda says something wonderful. You see, today in 2017, out of 1.25 billion people, almost 20% of India's population is living beneath the poverty line. You must be knowing this fact, is it not?
Yes.
20% of India's population is even today beneath the poverty line. But this does not mean that those who are above the poverty line, they are all rich. No, it's not like that. Below the poverty line is the worst kind of a situation. Even if you take those who are above the poverty line, you will see that almost 40 to 50% of India's population is poor even today. Out of 1.25 billion, 50% means more than 60 to 70 crore people are poor even today. You just go out into any of the villages. This is a beautiful village. When I was coming here, I was shooting something wonderful. You go out of the metro cities. By seeing the metro cities, we should not be judging that India is becoming something. Well, many people have got, just by seeing some big buildings here and there and malls and bridges, we think everything is fine. No, it's not like that. Even today, if you go to the villages, the condition of the people is really far from good. It's pathetic. Poverty is rampant, even today. Illiteracy is there. Superstition is there. There's a lot of work to be done. So how can this be rectified? This can be rectified only when our men and women become true patriots. And what is the meaning of becoming true patriot? Swami Vivekananda says that, he says, do you feel that millions and millions of the descendants of gods, he says, do you feel that millions and millions of the descendants of gods have become the next door neighbors to brutes? He is addressing us as the descendants of gods. The descendants of gods, they have become next door neighbor to brutes. Do you feel that millions of people are starving, and they have been starving for ages? Vivekananda says. Do you feel that ignorance has come over the land as a dark cloud? Does it make you restless? Does it make you sleepless? Does it make you almost mad? He says that, has it made you almost mad? Are you seized by that one idea of the misery of ruin? And above all, have you forgotten your name, your fame, your wives, your children, your money, your property, and even your bodies? Have you forgotten all these things? If you have done that, that is the first step towards becoming a patriot. To become a patriot is no easy thing, friends. You have to have that tremendous feeling for the state of affairs of this country, where even today we find almost 50% of our population is in the state of poverty. Do we feel for them? Do we really do we have any struggle inside us to do something for them? That is the first step to become a patriot. Second step, Vivekananda says, if you want to be a patriot, you have to then work out and chalk out some solutions to these problems. Mere talking won't do. And mere feeling also doesn't work. There has to be feeling, but the feeling has to take the form of action. Can you do something for these poor people? Then chalk out some plan, work out and try to find out some solution to the problems that India is having today. And the third thing which goes into the making of a patriot is the will to surmount mountain-high obstructions. See, when you will chalk out some solution to these problems, you will find that there will be tremendous oppositions coming. Do you have the will to surmount these mountain-high obstructions? Even if the whole world stands against you, sword in hand, will you be able to, or will you dare to do what you think is right? Vivekananda asked this question. If you are a patriot, you will have the guts to do what you think is right, even if the whole world stands against you, sword in hand. Even if your wives and children stand against you, if your money goes, if your name and fame dies, if your wealth is gone, still will you dare to do what you think is right for the good of the country? Then you are moving towards becoming a true patriot. Vivekananda says three things. First of all, you should feel. Secondly, you should work out and chart out some solutions to the great problems of this country. And thirdly, you should have that daring will to stand against the mountain-high obstructions which will stand on your path. If you can combine these three qualities within inside yourself, friends, you will be truly patriots. Patriotism is not simply sitting in a tea table, coffee table discussion and talking about all big things. Patriotism should be expressed in action, in real solution-centered actions, and the daring to go against all the obstructions on the path. Then we can change the destiny of this country. So, if we want to bring about this national integration, which was the dream of Vivekananda in the modern setup in this present day context, where we have all the divisive forces of communalism, religion, language, linguistic identities, then communal politics, which is one of the, especially the youngsters, I want all the youngsters to keep one thing in mind. Do not fall prey to the dirty tactics of communal politics. Remember, spirituality is the only solution. Spirituality cuts across all the so-called surface religions. Religion has got its surface face. The surface face of religion is Islam, Christianity, this, that and all that. But at the core of all the religion is the same spirituality. It is that spirituality alone that can unite us. So, let us keep this point in mind, that only thing which can do away with all these divisive forces of religion, communities, linguistic identities, caste-based politics, another big cancer of this country. Even today in 2017, there is such a rampant existence of caste-based politics. We should not fall prey to it. Just a few months back, I had been to Nagpur, where similarly I had to address one group of students. One girl stood up and asked me a question, Swamiji, even today in Nagpur, in Maharashtra, she was saying, Swamiji, even today in my house, when a low caste person comes to my house, my mother gives water to that person in a different glass. Can you imagine? That person is not supposed to drink water from the same glass which every member of that family uses. A separate glass and plate is kept for that person because that person belongs to a so-called low caste. This is the mentality even now in 2017. Why does this mentality exist? Vivekananda, in his famous Tamil Nadu lecture, I think in Madras, he had thundered, wipe off this blot. This is the biggest blot existing even during Vivekananda's time, and unfortunately 120 years have gone by, and even today India is plagued by this disease of caste differentiations. It is so strong. Why? We have forgotten our spiritual roots. So it is high time that we understand that we can be unified. All these caste differentiations based upon religion, communal politics, all these things can be done away with only one antidote, one medicine, that is spirituality. There's one more very dangerous thing which I'll just keep before you, that dangerous word called secularism. Secularism which is misinterpreted and it is twisted and distorted. In the name of secularism, what we are doing is we are playing communalism. When you begin to support or pamper only one community in the name of secularism, that is no secularism at all. Secularism does not mean dharma nirapekshata. Secularism means sarva dharma samabhav. And this Sarva Dharma Samabhav is the fundamental teaching of Vaidika Sanatana Dharma. It is Vaidika Sanatana Dharma, Hinduism alone, which is truly secular, integrally secular. That is why in this country, with this framework of universal spirituality, all the religions flourished, not because of some legislation coming from constitution, not because of some rules passed by the legislative assembly. This country was always secular because of those universal principles given to us by Vedic Sanatana Dharma. So Vivekananda wanted this spirituality to be once again brought back to the people. It is this spirituality alone which can integrate our country into one people, and can cut across all these divisive forces, and then he calls upon the youth of the country to come forward. And what is needed is renunciation. Without renunciation and sacrifice, nothing is going to happen. He thunders and says, sacrifice has been the law of the past, and sacrifice is going to be the law for ages to come. No good action can be done without sacrifice and without renunciation. Renunciation and service, these are the twin idols of this great land. This land, this country has to be intensified in these two areas, and all our problems will be solved. Vivekananda says. And in a beautiful letter which comes to my mind, a letter which Vivekananda wrote to the Raja of Mysore. It's one of the finest utterances of Vivekananda, which should be embossed everywhere, in all institutions, in all government offices, in all schools and colleges. It should be the one statement which should be embossed in the hearts of every so-called Indian. Vivekananda writes to this Mysore Maharaja, he says, this life is short, and the vanities of this world are transient. They alone live who live for others. The rest are more dead than alive. One of the most beautiful, thrilling, electrifying utterance. He says, they alone live who live for others. The rest are more dead than alive. This capacity to live for others rather than living for one's own self. Friends, if you want to really do something for this country, if you want to really integrate this country, we should learn to live for others. Instead of our life becoming self-centric, our life should become nation-centric. This journey from self-centric to nation-centric life is the journey of character building. The process of character building starts when we shift our life from being self-centric to nation-centric. Can we invest all our energies? That's what Vivekananda very beautifully says. If you want to do something good for the mankind, if you want to do something for the good of the nation, the first thing that you have to do is that you have to take your pain and pleasure, you have to take your name and fame, you have to take all those things which you hold very dear, make a bundle of it, throw it into the sea, and then come. Take the pain and pleasure for which we usually die, name and fame for which we usually die, all those things which usually grabs our attention. He says, take all of them, make a bundle of it, throw it into the ocean, and then come. Then you are ready to serve this nation. So this national integration which we are talking about, if we want to really accomplish this, as I said in the beginning, the political integration was accomplished in 1950 through a political process in which we gave to ourselves the Constitution of India, and we became the Republic of India, and we have this beautiful map today. And a great credit goes to none other than the great man of the hour, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. It was his immense contribution which brought about this unification, political unification in the modern times. But there is still a major job still remaining, the psychological unification, the psychological, ideological unification. And that is where this point of spirituality comes. With Swami Vivekananda again and again hammers in the complete works. And he says that the only thing which ideologically, because a nation is actually an idea. A nation is not made in some legislative assembly. Nation is an idea or a set of ideas, a set of common ideas, which is equally prevalent in every member of that particular place. It is that common idea which actually holds us together into one group, into one people. Though we may be speaking different languages, Though we may be practicing different religions, though we may be having different concerns, but that one set of common idea holds us together as a nation. And that set of common idea is our spirituality. A set of universal ideas given to us by the Vaidika Sanatana Dharma to uphold and to revive which Sri Ramakrishna came, Swami Vivekananda came, Sri Ma came in this modern times. One more point I shall say and I shall conclude my talk. That is, in all the difficult times, if we just look back into the history of our country, whenever this great land of Bharat has faced difficult times, it is the spiritual revival which has saved this country. What happened during the time of Buddha? It is Buddha once again came, he awakened, and he brought back the spiritual core, and India once again became great. What did the great Adi Shankaracharya do? He was facing one of the most dismal periods in the Indian history. We know just before the birth of Adi Shankaracharya, what was the state of this country? This land was in absolute darkness, steeped in superstition, and was almost on the verge of breaking into so many ideological pieces. Shankaracharya comes and once again breathes fresh life into the dead bones of religion. He once again brings back that Advaita philosophy, and even through that Advaita philosophy, he once again integrates this entire subcontinent into one unit. Look at his vision. In those days, 1200 years ago, he could visualize of having 4 vatas in the 4 corners of this subcontinent. What must have been that brilliant vision of this man? Spiritual unification of this man. Now, in 19th century, 20th century, after almost 1000 years, once again, Vivekananda comes to do the same thing, unifying India in and through spirituality and religion. If India is spiritually united, who is going to be the beneficiary? We are going to be the foremost beneficiary. Number 2, the whole world is going to be benefited. If this world has to be saved, my dear sisters and brothers, if this human race has to be saved, the only solution to that is the spirituality, the universal spiritual teachings and principles given to us by the great rishis of the Vedic Sanatana Dharma, which is known as Vedanta. That alone can save India. That alone can save this entire human race. So that is the importance, and Vivekananda had foreseen when he was sitting on that famous Vivekananda rock. I think my time is over. When he was sitting on the famous Vivekananda rock, just imagine, friends, here was the most unusual kind of a sannyasi. What is a sannyasi supposed to meditate upon? A sannyasi is supposed to meditate upon God. But here was a very unusual kind of a sannyasi who for 3 days and 3 nights, he was not meditating upon God. He was meditating upon Bharat, this great land. Sitting on that southernmost tip, he was looking into this extensive piece of land in front of him, and it was just the whole picture, frames of India's glory was moving before his eyes. And he was seeing the glory of this great country in the past, what this great land was and what it had done to the entire human race. Civilization was born here, religions were born here, all the scientific discoveries were born here. It is from this land everything good went to the other parts of the world. And he was seeing the pathetic state of India, that India during his time, inhabited by almost 30 crore absolutely poverty-stricken people. I'm talking about 1890s. And sitting on that rock, he was also seeing into the future of India. He was seeing that this very land is once again going to rise like never before. That it is going to rise to such heights that all the past glories would pale into insignificance. This was Vivekananda's rock. And that, if we have to actualize that dream, my dear young brothers and sisters, you all have come from the different parts of this country, as I have been told. I feel extremely glad to convey these ideas to you, and it is my very personal request to you that you all should read lectures from Colombo to Almora. That is the one treasure house of all that you need to know about nation building.
this nation building was an idea which was extremely close to Vivekananda's heart. And if you really want to understand what you can really do for this country, please read this one book. It can literally make a big difference. It can make a big difference in your life. And when a big difference is made in your life, it is going to make a big difference in the nation's life. Friends, once again I thank the organizers to have given me a chance to talk about this wonderful, very seminal subject of national integration. There are so many things in the mind. I came with so many things, but I know this is not a subject to be wrapped up in a matter of 45 minutes. So I wish and I pray to Swami Vivekananda that may Vivekananda give us that true kind of patriotism which he talked about. A patriotism which is rooted in deep feeling for the condition of our own brothers and sisters. They are no strangers. We are all children of the same rishis. We have descended from the same stock. We are one people, whether of Tamil Nadu or Rajasthan, whether of Kashmir or Kerala. Do not think that this political boundary defines India. No, the true cultural and civilization in India starts from beyond Afghanistan and it stretches up to Indonesia and Bali. It starts from Tibet down to Ceylon. That is the cultural boundary of this great subcontinent, having this great Sanatana Dharma ideology as its basis. So that should be the view of Akhanda Bharat. That fully integrated India, spiritually integrated India. So friends, I once again I pray to Swami Vivekananda that may he bless our hearts with that kind of a patriotism which he talked about, and may he also give us the needed strength to actualize his dreams. Thank you so much, Masters. अगर मैं आपको कहूँ कि आप भोगरत हैं, तो आप भोग में रत हैं. अगर मैं आपसे कहूँ कि आप क्रीड़ारत हैं, तो आप क्रीड़ा में रत हैं. तो अगर मैं आपसे ये कहूँ कि आप भारत हैं, तो उसका क्या मतलब होगा? उसका मतलब होता है कि आप भा में रत हैं. और भा में रत होने का क्या मतलब होता है? भा में रत होने का मतलब ये होता है कि भा का जो मतलब है वो जो भास्वर है और जो भासमान है. हमारी जो आध्यात्मिक जो दर्शन है, जिसे हम वेदांत कहते हैं, हमारी आध्यात्मिक दर्शन में उसके अनुसार इस सृष्टि में वास्तविक रूप से अगर देखो तो सिर्फ एक ही चीज भासमान है और वो है चैतन्य, चैतन्य का प्रकाश. ये उस चैतन्य के प्रकाश से हमें ये सारा विश्व ब्रह्मांड दिखाई दे रहा है. ये कोई प्रकाश नहीं, ये तो जड़ प्रकाश है. ये जो प्रकाश हम किस प्रकाश में देख रहे हैं वो है वो चैतन्य का प्रकाश. सो भा का मतलब है वो चैतन्य का प्रकाश, और भारत का मतलब हुआ उस चैतन्य के प्रकाश में जो लोग सदियों से रत रहे हैं और वो लोग जिस भूखंड में रहते हैं वो भारत. तो ये भारत शक्ति व्याख्या है. और कोई प्रश्न है? Yes, please, definitely.
First of all, I am very happy to give my best wishes and thanks for the lectures, because I am very frank that I have never attended this kind of so graceful lecture. So I am very happy. And my question is, first of all, I am a teacher and I have been teaching in a school for almost 1 year, and middle meal is given in the school. But he talked about caste system, and my parents don't allow me to take middle meal in the school because it was a among the Mahamandal people. So, but I don't dare to take my parents, so that's why I don't take. So, what should I do now?
Friends, my dear brother, I'm really extremely glad that you had the guts to talk about this so openly. He says that his parent doesn't allow him to take food in certain, along with certain community. And what shall we do about it? You have to bring about the change. In this respect, if you really believe in the higher truth, you can definitely, you can disregard the dictates of your parents also. Absolutely. This blot has to be wiped out. As Mahatma Gandhi says, that be the change which you want to have to be freed from the problem of the practice of casteism. So you have to bring the charity begins at home. So first, let me practice it. I am not going to practice it. No matter who says it, my parents or whoever it is. This is the biggest blot of this country, and this has to go. This has to go. There is no other way. Vivekananda had thundered. This caste system is the one thing which actually brought down the whole structure down. So, if you ask me this question, you should have, this is what I said, patriotism. And one of the factors of patriotism, Vivekananda said, you should have the will to surmount mountain-high obstructions. So your parents may put some obstructions before you. If you are really a patriot, what will you do? You have to face it. You have to stick to your guns and do not budge from these great teachings which Vivekananda has given to us. Any other question?